Hi, everyone. Delighted on this episode to be talking about journeys through the written word, the world of publishing, storytelling, and on this episode, delighted to be talking with author, editor Michael Shokrian. Michael, thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. I know that you are the editor of Thieving Magpie and the author of American Playground. How did you get on this journey of the written word?
My journey of the written word started sort of by accident. After I graduated from high school, I was accepted into UCLA as a math major. I wasn't sure that I wanted to stay with math, and I was kind of trying to figure out what my major should be, what I should study. I was sort of into journalism. I spoke to a friend of my father's about it, and he suggested I buy a notebook, and since I want to be a journalism major, and write notes in it every day. And so I went to the student store the next day. I bought one of those little Cosmopolitan or well, little notebooks and started writing notes in there on a daily, hourly basis. And I think that was it. I kind of realized that this is the thing that I could do really naturally, and it gave me a lot of pleasure and a lot of relief. And so I became an English major. I started taking a lot of English lit courses. Then I got into writing. I got into the creative writing program. I worked at the library at UCLA, and so I just came across a lot of books, a lot of writers, and I was just in that world. It just consumed me, and I was happy to be swimming in it. And so that was it for me.
Awesome. Awesome. How did Thieving Magpie come to be? What was the origin of that? And then also anything that you'd like to share about the creative vision that you have.
Okay, Thieving Magpie, it's been a pet project, I guess, for quite a while. In the late '80s, I got my master's at San Francisco State in the creative writing, and I wanted to. I was playing around with the idea of having a literary magazine, being part of a literary magazine, and so it was always kind of in the back of my mind. And at the same time, of course, I was submitting my short stories and poems to literary magazines all around, all across the country. And in those days, you did it by mail, and you got your rejections by mail, and I got plenty of rejections. Um, and I think it was really after I had already been married and had kids, and had a law practice established, that I thought I have the time and the energy to make that literary magazine something real. And so I started the Thieving Magpie in 2017. It became a lot easier because of technology. I was able to, get a website, get a web designer. I worked with somebody on the logo. Um, I really didn't know what I was going to expect. I was going to probably populate that website with most of my own work, my own stories and poems that were rejected all the time from every other magazine. But I started to get a lot of submissions, all very talented people, very good writers, very good poets and photographers and essayists and painters. And so the magazine sort of took on a life of its own. Once the website was launched and we got a couple of issues under our belt, it became its own thing, and it's wonderful. I just 3 days ago got the summer 2026 issue, so that's our 34th issue. It comes out every quarter, and I think it gets better every quarter. Honestly, the submissions just get better. The artists, the writers, the poets, they take their work seriously. They follow direction. They do the submissions correctly, which makes it easier for me. Um, and I appreciate reading good work, and I having been rejected so many times myself, I know what it's like to get an acceptance, and I know what it is to send a gentle rejection when that's necessary. And it's a real community. And I think that's the important part of it, is that having a community of artists and writers is always helpful and it just expands.
Yeah, what are the aspects of lived experience? What are the parts of life that you're really drawn to center in the journal?
Um, I think the main thing for me as a writer and as a submitter to literary magazines all the time is that I just wanted good work. I wanted craftsmanship. I want writers and poets to take their work seriously and to send real work, real something that they've worked on and they believe in from a literary standpoint or from an artistic standpoint. I think that's the mindset for the magazine itself. As far as lived experience for me as a writer, I write mostly from what I know. So my experiences, my lived experiences are full and are on display in my work. And the writers that send their work, they're kind of the same way. I think all writers are the same way. I mean, of course, there are fantasy or fantastical writers who write from other worlds, and I think that's fascinating. I've never been good at that, and I don't read that type of stuff. I do read kind of on a feet on the ground type of literature, which I like. And I think that's what a lot of the writers send off. And I think that's why a lot of people write in the first place. They write to sort things out for themselves. Sometimes it comes out in fantasy or romance, but a lot of times it just comes in, feet on the ground. This is where I am, and this is where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah. You mentioned that process of going through rejection that's so common in writing. Uh, Curious about your draw to independent publishing and also independent writers. What draws your attention to that community?
Well, I think that it's more important than ever to cultivate that community of independence, independent writers and publishers. And speaking as somebody who finished a novel a couple of years ago, and I went through that process of trying to get an agent and trying to get a publisher and going through the formal process. Um, I thought it was hard in the 80s and 90s. Well, it's a lot harder now. It seems like there are a lot of barriers put up and a lot of gatekeepers that see your work before anybody else gets to see it. And it can really be not just frustrating, but it could be discouraging where you just think that you're not going to get in. You could have the best work or a questionable piece of work or whatever it is. The only thing that seems to be getting through is either some sort of a connection or some sort of an inside track or some sort of a humongously marketable uh, commercial piece of work, which is not usually what literature is. And so it becomes incumbent on us, independent writers and poets, and to roll up our sleeves and take that entrepreneurial step and get into independent publishing. And I really do look at it. I mean, I'm old, so I talk about a lot of past stuff, but I remember in the early '90s when independent film was just a concept, where Sundance Film Festival was just a concept. It was a platform for independent, self-funded filmmakers to establish themselves or to commune with each other. And so that's not that different today with technology and with the gatekeepers so tight, keeping their hands so tight on what comes in and what goes out. The independent spirit has to come out, and it does come out. It's just a natural formation, and so I kind of embrace that, and I want the artist community to um, take their own risks and showcase their own work on different platforms. If Random House doesn't see you, that doesn't mean that you're not seen. If Penguin doesn't want to look at your work, that doesn't mean that your work doesn't want to be looked at. We're all here. Humanity is built on art. you know, and so artists are never going to go away. They might not get into the peepholes and the very narrow paths that are existing right now, but we can commune and we can create community and we can get ourselves out there. Just got to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, very well said. Very well said. Without putting you on the spot, I hope anything that is in the most recent issue or anything that you're currently reading that you'd like to tee up for us that is really fascinating at the moment.
Um, well, I would say that in this issue, the summer 2026 issue, I do a very brief editorial with each launch. Um, And what I was talking about this time around is that, I know a lot of literary magazines that have themes for each issue, like they might have, something about dystopian, or they might have something about just literary fiction or sci-fi, or whatever they're focusing on. We don't do that. I don't do that. I just read submissions as they come, and if it's good, it's in. If it's not, we give them a rejection. But I have noticed that this season there are a lot of hard and tough stories about the current conditions of the world, whether it's from tyrannical governments that are taking over, or whether it's about revolutionaries being fed up and taking over their streets. There's a lot of angst in the work, and it's not something that I looked for, but it's something that shows up. And so I think that in a way, it really artists are a reflection of their communities and societies in that moment. And so I do see a lot of very creative and but also very poignant stories about community struggle and about sometimes what we call government overreach. And they're fun and they're informative and they're heavy. I mean, they're heavy, but good reading, I think.
As you mentioned, writers use that space to sort things out, and then we get to experience that as readers as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's something that we do for each other and for ourselves. That's why people read. They read because they have issues and they want to sort things out as well. So poets and writers, they serve a purpose at large, to the community at large, and also to their own inner peace.
True enough. True enough. What can we expect from you in the future in terms of Thieving Magpie? And then you also mentioned you're writing an American Playground. So anything that you're exploring as a future project that we can look to?
American Playground is my first novel. I'm usually a short story writer, and so it was my first effort to write something big. And I had Thieving Magpie be the publisher because I wanted to have some faith in my own publication. And I also wasn't very confident that I was going to break through any of those barriers that we were talking about. So having a novel in paperback and in the world is a new experience, and I'm still learning about uh, printing and promotion and distribution and all of that stuff. So that has been an experience this past year. And I'm working on the next project. I am working on a piece. I don't know if it's a novel yet. It's much longer than a short story. So I do spend my time working on my own stuff and then working on the magazine. The Thieving Magpie is very much poised to go to a next level. And I don't mean from an exclusivity standpoint, but I mean that it's been around for 7 years, almost 8 years. And probably if I can find the right partner, whether it's an entity or a group who are like-minded, who are into promoting independent publishing, I want to be able to get the Thieving Magpie in print um, back issues and going forward. I think online is great, and I think it's great to be able to, pick up your phone or your laptop or whatever device you use, and to be able to just access poetry and fiction and art at any time. But there is something permanent about paper, which I appreciate. And so for the Thieving Magpie as a magazine, I would like to explore getting it to print and also just getting it into that next level. I haven't yet gotten into the place where I've nominated some of the writers and poets for awards, for example, and I do want to get into that as well because honestly, I not only I feel as an obligation as a publisher to not just put them on the platform, but also to promote them for recognition when it's due. But it's also a good process of getting it out there, getting the magazine out there, and getting those writers some note if they can get it.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you're out there promoting authors, sharing work, and opening up these spaces. If I'm a listener and I want to find out more, where are some places that I can go to follow along and read?
The Thieving Magpie is a wonderful website. It's just been revamped this past year, so it's fast and pretty. It is at www.thievingmagpie.org. We're a nonprofit 501c3 nonprofit organization, and so it has everything. It has stories, it has poets, it has art and photography, it has essayists. It's got a merch shop where you can get hats and T-shirts with the logo on it, and you can get the book, or you can get American Playground on that website as well. But American Playground is available on all those places. It's on Barnes and Noble and Amazon and on the books in bookstores in Hollywood and in Los Angeles and also in locals. They will order it for you. So that's the Thieving Magpie. And also I have my own author's site, which is mishokrian.com. And it has other essays and other stories that I've written and interviews and things like that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Did we miss anything that you want to make sure to include before we close out the interview?
Um, I don't think so. I think that if your readers are interested in a fun and funny novel about an immigrant kid who experiences America and becoming an American uh, in 1970s Los Angeles. That's what American Playground is about. We're about to celebrate our 250th birthday in this country, and it's a good time to explore who we are as a country, who we are as citizens of this country, where we come from, how we got here, and how we became Americans, all of us from different places. But we are one, e pluribus unum. And
Mhm.
it's a good book. It's a good summer read, and it's a good book for 4th of July and for 250th.
Wonderful. Well, many thanks, Michael. Glad to have you back as you're writing and as the next project comes along and as Thieving Magpie continues to showcase the world and work.
Thank you.